not there, whether it's I know it or I don't know it. I just kind of learned how to live in that medium space, and that has kind of been helpful, along with having people around, that can help co-sign on that. So when I didn't have the gas, at some point I had to make a call. Like, look, I'm 10 miles away. If I can get to you, can I get five? Now you can't get much for $5 now, but back in the day, $5 to get you a little quarter tank, make it a couple more days. And I say that, laughing but serious. Like there were some days and are some days now where if it weren't for the other people, right, that I may be connected to help lift up. And I think every man, right, needs a man. Shout out to all the single moms out there. I know you're doing your thing. You're holding it down. We are not at all saying you are deficient in any area. While at the same time, I want to just kind of toss out that men do need people. We need mentors. We need coaches. We need pastors. We need guides. One of the favorite examples I often use, I'm a Michael Jordan guy for all of the LeBron heads out there. I'm a Jordan guy. And Jordan had Phil Jackson for a while, didn't he? Y'all keep up with basketball? He had Phil Jackson. Yes. And ran Phil out for a while, right? Kobe ran Phil out for a while. I got it right. I'm sorry. Kobe ran Phil out, and the year that he had Phil Jackson fired, they lost somewhere early in the playoffs. He went back and was like, no, we need Phil back. Got Phil back and went to the championship the very next year. And that is one of many examples. Again, Mike had Phil. Some other people had Phil. Phil was a good coach. I don't know what kind of man he was, but in basketball, he was a good coach, right? And I wonder who your Phil Jackson has been. Like, who's been the mentor, the person in life that has helped coach you to victory? And what was that relationship like, right? Because I know for me, one of my major mentors has been my dad. The other has been Pastor Thomas, who was here with us Sunday. And, we laugh and joke now, but there were some days he would approach me with some things I really didn't want to hear, like, Coach, I came to you for advice. I thought you were going to be on my side. And he said, no, you were wrong this time. Well, I am going to hear that. I'll talk to you next week, right? And so who have they been, if any, and what has that experience been like with them? Because I'm going to start on this side this time so y'all can, either one.
So I go. I got two. One of them is my uncle Corn, right? And he's one of the ones. As I was young, he's the first one that had a house in Kevlin Manor. So as a young guy in Swanson Homes, to go over in a home and to eat dinner, and to get the vitamins, that was all I wanted. I said, I just want a house. No matter how big it was just different. And just to get mentored by him about, yeah, you can do this. No matter where you come from, you can do it. So he's my first mentor. The other one, and I'm pretty sure somebody, is you, Pastor, right? Pastor has been a mentor, and I tell you, right, I started a youth organization called Cuts Cleaning Up the Streets. And, me with my ideas, and it was, from God, with me and my ideas, like, okay, yeah, I need to get a building, and I need to get vehicles, and I need to do, and I come, and I, call Pastor all the time when I need advice, and I sat down, and he's like, you don't need no building. What you need, you don't need no vehicle. If God gave you the vision, then you go with it, and just listening to him, and no, I don't have a building, but I started, without having a building, but like I said, if God has the vision, he put you in company with people that can give you the right direction, and people came, right? We got the support we need, and we're doing wonderful without a building, without a vehicle, and we're thriving. But it's just the type of advice he always gives, is you don't need everything to get started. If God tell you to start, you just start.
So real quick, he didn't say it, shameless plug. He was talking about his uncle who had a house in Cavalier Manor. Yes, Brother Linwood, he and his wife, they actually built a custom house out in Suffolk not too long ago, so congratulations. Uncle Corn would be proud. He'd be proud. Congratulations to you. Gentlemen, mentors, and what was that experience like?
Well, I would say for me, of course, it was my father, and then it was my grandfather. My grandfather was, he was also a deacon, but he was jack of all trades. Uh, the house that I was born in, he built himself. You know, he worked in the shipyard. He was a heavy duty mechanic, but he could do. He was a mechanic. He could do construction. He couldn't read or write, but he could count, and he knew how to do the bill. And he was a hard worker. So that's what gave me my drive to not give up on things, to continue to keep moving. Um, he just taught me so much, just being around him. And every Saturday morning he would come get me. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was going with him, and it gave me that work ethic that I needed to have.
That's good. Work ethic. That's good. That's good. That's good.
Mentors. So for me, I would say that talking about women, my grandmother, my grandparents, grandmother, grandfather, they raised me. So those were the people who I was the most closest to growing up. They again, they trained me, just give me that faith, understanding what it was like to be a God-filled person, seeing the servanthood personalities, especially my grandfather died, left my grandmother and I, and to see the life that she lived, it just was so awesome for me growing up and the things she instilled in me. So as I got older, of course, she passed away, and then I met another brother. He's an apostle. He's also a mentor of mine, and also I can look at Pastor Riddick and I can see the mentorship abilities that he has. There's always someone that I could find that I could draw something from. I read a lot of books that have people who are mentors to me because the information that are in those books I like to read and find about things, and those are mentors to me because the information that those books provide to me from various people.
That's good. Books are great mentors. That's really good. That's good. Yes, sir.
So I can't say really a specific person. It's like he said, there's always someone around that I could pick stuff from and learn from. So I think all my life, that's what I've really done, just picked up what I needed from certain people that would help me along the way. Because I don't really interact or do a whole lot of talking or asking a lot of questions. So I'll just sit back and watch and learn from different people.
That's good. That's good. I mentioned earlier my mentor in Pastor T, and I kind of mentioned him usually as it relates to preaching. My father has probably been my biggest mentor. He did things like when he wanted to talk, he said, "Come on outside, let's plant some flowers." And I knew what that meant. That was gonna be a long conversation, right, about something. Or help me build, help me put this together. And in those working moments, right, he would grow. One of the things I appreciate about him is he rarely answered a question straight. He would always answer a question with a question and would make me have to think through it. Then when I come up with an answer, he says, "Well, that's what you think? Let's go with it. Let's try it, see how it works." Knowing it was the wrong thing, right? But then walking alongside me there. So and I've heard that from him. Then I've seen him. He just has huge vision. He's always had big vision. But to hear his ideas and then see them executed was really something that kind of pushed me. And so I want to kind of lean into the mentor idea because I think all of these answers have been great. Sean talks about how he's able to learn from everyone. It's been said you can learn from people no matter who they are. You can learn what to do or what not to do, right? And so I think it is, again, being willing to grow, knowing that all of us learn. I also believe that mentors cut out and or shorten your journey, right? There are some things we don't have to experience. And I've heard people say it over and over again, experience is the best teacher. It could be, but experience is a teacher where you learn the lesson after you've already had the punishment. And so one of the ways that you can learn faster and with higher quality than experience is through other people's experience, right? Trust in somebody else to say, "Hey, I've been this way, I've done this, and when I did it, here were my results." You don't have to necessarily mimic or be the carbon copy of another person, but it doesn't make sense for them to plow the ground and you come along only having to sow the seeds and you go back and plow the ground again, right? Every generation should move to the next space. And so if one generation plows, then the next generation throws down the seeds, and the next generation does the watering, the next generation should harvest. But by the time my son comes along, he shouldn't have to go back and do the same things that my father did, right? He should keep, kind of building from it. And that happens with mentors. So I want to kind of take this public service announcement and encourage everyone to connect, right? Connect with another man. I want to encourage mothers, aunties, right? Find other men to connect with your young man. I want to even encourage men, to have kids and grandkids. Find another man in between. I know my son is 13. And so one of the things that I really push is for there to be someone in between us, right? Our age group. So I know my age, I know his age. But if I can find a young adult in between there to help bridge the gap where they kind of understand what I'm saying, but they also understand what he's saying, right? Because there are benefits in connecting with others because none of us know it all, right? Amen, hallelujah, praise the Lord. Like don't ever get to that place where you know everything, even about the things you know. You can know it well and still not know everything. And so I think one of the things that may be missing from a lifestyle that's constantly trial and error is the person to help you realize you don't have to do everything through trial and error. Look, there are people who've been married 40 and 50 years. So why are you struggling in a relationship, right? There have been people who have purchased multiple properties and a house. So you don't have to go through that by yourself. There are entrepreneurs who launch businesses. There are men and women who have struggled in their faith with God and the Bible, but then still overcome it. And so there's rarely an area, of our lives where we have to figure it out by ourselves. And then if I could, another shameless plug, when James talks about reading books, books are the greatest way to learn from some of the greatest minds and have never met them. I also have to toss out the Bible is a real good way, right, to avoid having to learn through experience. It's everything is, what I love about the Bible? What I love about the Bible is that it was not just a book full of perfect people who did everything right. Even Jesus, he did it right, but Jesus has some struggle moments, right? He has some pain points. I love the fact that the Bible has people like Moses in it, right, as a murderer, and David and that whole Bathsheba thing. Like we got to have that conversation. I love the Goliath and David, and then David and Saul. Like those are real moments, and if we read them and learn from them, there are some things we don't have to experience. And so I really kind of lean in. Anyone else? Questions, comments, right there, statements? What y'all thinking?
You kind of took the thought right out of my mouth, Pastor.
Okay.
'Cause I was thinking the same thing. The Bible does have a lot of various stories about different situations.
That's right.
That people went through, and that's definitely a place to lean to because it's the one document that sometimes we forget to refer to when times and things happen or where we need to see, hey, who did this? Where were some stories that I could relate to? Books are great, but the Bible is the best book that was ever made.
Ever. Listen, if you experience it, it's in the book, from money to health, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, how to exercise. It has sexual misconduct. It has the pornography in it. It has how to treat your wife. It has what to do if you get married and one of you are saved and one of you are not. It has alcohol content. Check with Noah. It's in the book. And sometimes, we skip it and miss it and experience it, and then we go back to the book to figure out what we could have done when God has really given us the answers already.
So me just speaking on the Bible and being
Okay.
transparent, when I started reading the Old Testament, I had to call some people because I was like, God is an OG. He was not playing, and that's the thing. You read, it was like he was serious about his business. So I just had to call some people, some friends, like, y'all need to read this, just the type of life. So he wasn't playing, but it was just so much that I learned as I continued to read. And then when you go back, you learn something else new. So it's just a living document, and that's true, it's a living document that every time you read it, you get something new out of it.
So, yes, sir. good. So, let me repeat. I got it. Got it. So he's saying that there are times that there are people around us that could help us, but we're fearful of letting them in. And then example he gave for those who could not hear it is that President Johnson, the 17th president, right, the 17th president couldn't read, but his wife was there to help him out, to help him read. If you can become the president of the United States of America and not read 17th or have no political experience, right, then clearly life can be about who you're surrounded by, not necessarily your own skill. And I think maybe what you're alluding to, and we didn't say outright, is that we don't have to be afraid to share our weaknesses because we aren't defined by our weaknesses. And if I could, I don't want to disappoint anyone, but you are no more defined by your weaknesses than you are your strengths. Because whatever your strongest strength is, there is someone stronger than you at that. So you just have to own, this is who I am, this is what I know how to do, these things I do not know how to do, and as a result, we need each other, right? We need community. It is essential that we kind of intertwine. We are communal by nature. Genesis starts off, Adam is out here, and this is not a marriage statement. God is like, it is not good for man to be alone. Now, he does bring Eve, right? He could have brought another guy, so we do see some relationship building male-female there. But the idea is that none of us were intended to do this alone. Jesus comes on the scene to change the world, and he is God in the flesh, and he still finds 12 men, to do that with. He feeds the 5,000, breaks the bread, but he doesn't pass it out. Right? He says, now you guys go and pass out the bread, because there is really some benefit in the brotherhood, right? Sisters, you too, but tonight, give us tonight. Just give us tonight, right? There are benefits in that brotherhood if we are not afraid to say, look, here's an area, help me read, or here's an area. My wife and I may not be, here's an area, I'm making money, but I can't keep this money. Where are you investing? And I think there's some conversations that have been taboo for men to have with men, and as a result, we all suffer, right? Where we could open up a conversation. And what I have found, if you ever ask a question, most men are quick to give you some advice. That sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. But it's rare for men who are solution-based, right? Ladies, y'all hearing that? We are solution-based. That's why when you ask us and you sharing your whole day about what happened, we're trying to figure out what to do. Now, we know you just needed to get it off your chest to get it out your head, but that's not how we listening. We're listening to figure out, now, based on what you just went through, what can I do? Right? We are solution-based creatures. And as a result, men can talk to men and give solutions. If I mentioned something that was wrong with my car right now, about 15 men would be like, this is what you need to do. You need to go ahead and get up, right? It's a quick response because we're solution-based. So here's the thing. If men are solution-based, it's almost catch-22. Fellas, y'all walking with me on this? We're solution-based. So because we're solution-based, we never want to put ourselves in a position where we feel like we don't have a solution. Because we're solution-based creatures. We're supposed to have the answers. When, in fact, we know there's some things we don't have answers for. But before I let you know that I don't have the answer for it, because I'm supposed to be the answer for everything, I'm going to just struggle. That's silly. Come on, fellas. Let's move to that place where we get the mentors and we have the conversations and we open up about things, because there are some things that you can be launched into just with one conversation from another man. Did I see some hands out there? Any hands? Okay. That's good. Brother Don said, ever since I've been vulnerable in my household, he said stress has been released. Yeah, that's good. Anybody else? Let's go there. Anyone else had a situation that you were struggling in, and then once you had a conversation, it changed the struggle that you want to talk about? That you're willing to talk about.
No, I can definitely go there, and you're exactly right. We want to have the solution, and me being young, me and my wife, we had a child young, 15 and 16. We had our first child. And me as a child with no guidance, no father figure, I had no idea what to do. So when my wife got pregnant, I ran because there was no guidance, nobody to tell me this is what you do when a child is born, or this is how you even take care of the child. So I ran, but I ran into my mentor, my uncle, and we had that conversation because he went through the same thing. And once we had that conversation, you know, she was further along. That's when I was able to step up and say, okay, even though I'm young, I do have an answer. I can be a father. Even though I'm young, I can do this. And that's when I stepped back in, when I reached out to someone that been through the same thing I've been through, but he had an answer to give me guidance, and I stepped back in.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Anyone else?
I guess what I would look at is when me and my wife got married, I was working in the shipyard over in Newport News, and they were talking about going on strike. And I'm saying, going on strike? I was like, I just got married. I can't afford no strike, you know. So I told my wife, I say, you know what? I think I'm going in the military. So that's what I did. I was thinking, hey, I'm like, well, what can I do? Because I know I can't walk a picket sign. We just got married. We got bills, you know, how I'm going to pay stuff. So that's what made my decision to go into the military. Then once I got in there, my next thought process was, okay, if I ever re-enlist, I'm going all the way to retire from the military. So always thinking ahead. That's what I was trying to do, is to always have a step, you know, ahead. That's what was, you know, my thought process was.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Opposed to living in the moment, it is okay. What's coming next, and being able to prepare for that. That's good. That's good. That's good. So I've heard you talk about, right, couple things. Brother James just stepped out, and I know he is newly engaged, but I also heard marriage a lot up here. You know, in the barbershop, fellas don't get excited about that too much. It's like an illness. You got what? You getting woo? Talk a little bit about a couple things. One of two things. Let me put it out there. One or two things. What have been some transformative experiences you've had with God, and or how have your relationships with your spouses, I want to say enhanced, but that's a leading question, impacted your life? Let me go that way. It's two totally different questions. I want to see which route you guys are going to take, right? How has being married impacted your life, right? Because, you know, we're in a faith-based space where we can talk about it. Or what have been some transformative experiences you've had with God up until this point in your life, if any?
I would say the way that my relationship has, or my marriage has changed my life, she just compliments me in every way possible. Like, I'm more to myself, don't say a whole lot around a lot of people, but she's more open. She helps me to be more open. And that helps me not even just at home, but at work and anywhere, to just connect more with people, talk to people more. Because if I had my way, I'll just not say anything all day.
That's funny because he's actually on the panel having a talk. All day, right? That's good. No, we appreciate that. Brother James, we're coming back from a commercial break. We got two questions on the table you can kind of consider. The first is, well, not even first, but the two questions are, how has your relationship with fiance, right, enhanced or impacted life, and or what have been some transformative experiences you've had with God? If y'all real smart, y'all put them two together. But in case you want to split them, So we all kind of just talk, but we just kind of fell into that because I heard him talk about his wife, and I heard you just talk about your wife, and I heard you talk about your wife. We know you're engaged, and so we just want to kind of tap into that. For all the fellas out there that's like, I'm doing this thing by myself, I got it, I'm handling it. We're not saying you can't, but since the fellas up here got booed up, we thought we'd at least kind of bring it out in case you're wondering. Gentlemen?
I guess what I would say is that my wife compliments me and well, I should say we complement each other, you know, because we're getting ready to go on next month 45 years of marriage. So we pretty much know what each other is thinking because we've been together so long. Because we were together prior to getting married, we've been knowing each other since junior high school. So then when she went and became saved, it just changed the dynamic of how our relationship was, because my wife was very outspoken prior to that, and you wouldn't believe it if you see her now, how quiet she is, and it seemed like I'm more of the outspoken, I guess you would say, of the two now. But it complements us so even because we even balance each other, you know.
That's good. So you did say that she got saved first in your relationship.
No, I got saved.
You got
first.
saved. You would say
Yeah.
first, but then when she got saved, you got
Yep.
okay. All right, that's good. That's good. That's good. Anyone else?
Sure. First of all, I like to compliment each of the men on the panel for being married for as long as they have been. And I'll be vulnerable here and say that I've had a divorce. And so, you know, it wasn't the best marriage. However, you know, I went about 10 years being single. And, you know, that's one of those situations that God put me in. And then I ran into my fiance. And
The long pregnant pause. Did y'all get that? Did y'all get that? And then
so
cue the music, right?
you-
Okay.
You know, it's one of those things where, you know, I struggle with the whole divorce thing, you know, because the Bible speaks on divorce. And, you know, that's where I needed mentors, people to inform me, to give me information about divorce. So I didn't feel as negative about myself because of that. And when I met my betrothed, you know, we talked a lot about marriage and what we wanted, what we expected, and what I want to correct. And then, you know, being that she was a God-fearing woman, that was one of the things that really attracts to me because, as I said, train a child up so when they get older, they will not depart. I departed, but, you know, she helped me come back. You know, we were on board with one another, and she was the missing piece that I needed. She calls herself, and I call her my prime rib. And I needed her to be in my life, and I'm thankful for that. So it was a transformative period of time for me in my life. You know, and so, you know, God is a forgiving God. You know, and that's, again, the Bible has all stories of people who failed at certain situations in their life, but God forgave them for those situations, and he redeemed them. And I feel like I'm a redeemed person, and that's why we're together at Bible study, church, and I didn't have that in my previous life. But thank God for this new life.
That's good. That's good. I like the redeem, transform. That's good. That's good. Yes, sir.
Yeah, gotta speak on my wife. Yes. Yeah, no, so it has been a journey with me and my wife. Like I said, we from 13 and 14 years old, we've been together. But it's like no matter what we went through, God
Hold on for a
had us
minute. We just want to make sure you're saying the right numbers.
13 and 14.
13 and 14 years
13
old.
and 14.
Okay.
We've been together a long time. Not saying we're perfect. We made a whole lot of mistakes. But as I say, like I said, God put us together for a reason. And he held his hand no matter when we tried to go left, he pulled us right, and he kept us together. You know, we just look at it as a process of now, where we're at now. And no matter what, I always took care of my business, try to run my household as a man, but I was not always leading by example. I was always saying, I was paying bills and trying to, you do this, but I wasn't doing, doing what I was preaching. So now it's just a different level now that, I have this faith walk. My wife, her grandparents are Jehovah's Witnesses, so she came up on a different, a different religion, but her to come over with me, because my background, is Christian, her to come over and do this faith walk with me it's just a different level now of being the head and not the tail, leading by example, not just talking it. So, you know.
That's good. That's good. Gentlemen, appreciate all of those answers. Of everyone out in the audience, thank you all so much for coming. A couple things we want to do as we get ready to kind of close out right in our hour time slot. We want to first maybe just kind of pause to see if there are any questions from those who are with us in the audience. I'm also logging in online, and so if you have any questions from any of you that are joining us live online, we definitely want to be able to provide answers if possible. We don't have all the answers, but we'll definitely kind of share from what we've read and what we've experienced. So if there are any questions, we want to start there. Also, I want to ask all of the men if you could just maybe get ready to conclude in a 1 minute or less statement. If there was one thing that you wanted to share as a word of wisdom or word of advice to those who have joined us, if you can kind of get prepared to do that. But let me again go back. Are there any questions from anything you've heard? Yes, sir. All right, thank you. Okay. Got it. Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. Good question. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, right, right. So for those of you who are hearing, the question on the floor is, how do you handle an obstacle, particularly when and or if it's family, right? You can't get away from family, right? Some friends and coworkers you can figure out ways to get away from. Family you may not be able to. Gentlemen, I'm sure you all are thinking, so would love to hear your answers. I'm not going to answer it, but let me say this before we answer it. I will say that the challenge that any of us have with family is not unique, right? We've had sibling rivalry starting from Cain and Abel. We've had it with Joseph and his brothers, right? We had it with Moses, and they weren't necessarily his brothers, but it was his family that forced him to flee. We had it with David and his brothers. You know, they were up at arms and with the sister. And so even before we get to what could be an answer, let me say that because it's not new and we have so many examples, it's not too hard for God. Like what you are experiencing is not new. There is a remedy. And while it may feel like an obstacle, we've seen it too many times work out for good for you to give up on it. So first of all, thank you for asking that. And I want to kind of open up. I'm not sure if any of the brothers here have had family-like experiences, whether it's been a brother or some other family member that you want to share about.
Yeah, I just had an experience 2 weeks ago. I got two friends and their brothers. And the older brother, he's on dialysis. And the younger brother, he deal with alcohol and things like that. But I have a 5 o'clock prayer meeting that we do on Zoom with the older brother. And he talks about how his younger brother hate him. And, he just moved right beside his younger brother about 2 weeks ago. And he was trying to move in with dialysis. The younger brother just was looking at him. And they never said anything to each other. So I came in 2 weeks ago. I took him a fan. And when I was bringing him the fan, his younger brother was walking in the house from work. And both of them my friends. So I called his younger brother. And I'd say, just before I start talking to him, and I said, you know your older brother really miss you, right? And he just started breaking down, and I was just like, he really miss you. And he was like, I didn't know that. So I say, go in the house, put your clothes, your stuff up, and let's go over there and let's pray. And he went over, and we went over to his brother's house, and took both of them in the room and shut the door. And I just said, right, this right here should stop today. Y'all love each other. Y'all talk to other people about each other, but not talking to each other. And I say God loves both of y'all because, you're just talking, but both of them loved each other. And then they start talking about, like, bro, I miss you. I don't like seeing you like this. So it's reason why he was just looking at him and not helping him. He was just like, it just hurts me to my heart that you're like this, and I miss you. So we prayed together. They cried together. But it was just somebody coming in to say, right, like, let's talk about it.
That's good. So maybe a mediator, a third person to come in. Then I think also what I'm hearing from this is a conversation, right? And it may not always be when you want it. It might be one of those things that we kind of work towards or you build towards. We don't know how long it was before he brought this fan, right? But maybe that's something you start kind of looking forward to. And then also I think what I'm hearing in this conversation is sometimes you may think a person feels one way and may not know exactly why we aren't talking. You may have a perspective of why we're at odds with each other. He may have another perspective that is totally different from what you think. And the power of a conversation changes a whole lot. Many of us have been at odds with people until we've had a conversation. Then the conversation was like, oh, I didn't know that, right? And so working, I'm not saying have it, but work towards a conversation based on this advice. And then also, if I could just toss it out, not because I'm a pastor, but because I've experienced it and believe it, prayer changes things, right? And so what I appreciate is they didn't just come in and talk and cry, but they talked, cried, and there was some God connection there that really I don't know how it works. I don't know the mystery of the power of prayer. I've just experienced it and seen it and believe it and read it, that prayer really does change things. So it might start with you just praying for him until you can get to a place where you can pray with him. I think there are always layers of forgiveness that can be inserted, and forgiveness is not always a because he's at fault or because I'm at fault. It is a step towards reconciliation. It's a step towards coming back together, right? And a lot of times we got to figure out, well, who's supposed to be, why am I going to forgive them if they did it, or why are they going to forgive me? No, it's not about who did what. Sometimes forgiveness is just a process of trying to get back together for some things. So again, not knowing exactly the situation, I think we can learn a lot from that one. Yeah. Anyone else have anything? Yes, sir. Joseph and his brothers, right? Opportunity to open up your life to Christ. Right. So for those of you who are listening, we're talking about Joseph and how Joseph and his brothers interacted. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Right. So he's saying that in Joseph's case, people saw the suit, but they didn't know everything, right? And I think again, without knowing the details, what I would really work towards, if I had a chance or someone else had a chance, or if you had other family members, I would really work towards what exactly is the issue now, different from what may have been, right? I think that's a really good start. And it may cause some tears and some pain. And I've been in settings like that where I just kind of let the family members yell at each other. Didn't stop it. Just get it out. Look, get out how you feel. And once you get it out, we can kind of do some reconciliation. So again, I don't know if there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step towards it, but I think for sure God can handle it. And this is a good start. This is a good start to be able to share about it. Good start. Okay. Thank you for your question. Yeah. Any other questions? Any other questions? All right. Yes, ma'am. That's good. That's
Welcome.
good. So from the audience, we got to thank you because the information has helped others, but it also helps us as men. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, let's wrap it up. Wrap it up. Just kind of closing statement. If you had to share a word of wisdom or advice to men or just people in general, what would it be? I'm going to start down this way, and Deke, we're gonna end with you. Okay. All right.
I think I'll just say focus on God, obviously, and everything else will work out on its own. And be true to who you are no matter what. Don't let people or the circumstances around you change who you are.
I would just say God can do all things, but it's up to you to make sure you keep moving. Right? No matter what's going on, you keep on moving forward. Don't stay stagnant. Move forward. But God can do all things. There's nothing he can't do.
I would just say that in life, when you want things to happen for yourself or you see things that's going on with someone else, change begins with me before it can start with someone else. So work on yourself, be the best person that you can be authentically, and you'll see the results.
And I would say that look at yourself in the mirror. Because if you look at yourself and see what you have in you, is this what I want to be? Is this what I want to project? And then go to God with it. Say, God, I'm turning it over to you because I want to be the best that I can. And I want to do your will, not my will. And that's the key, is that we're trying to please God and not please man.
That's good. That's good. I would say don't let other people's applause of you now stop you from growing. You know what's 100% for you. You know what you can be. And sometimes people being excited about where you are or not can keep you stifled. So keep growing. Be the leader. Influence the people that God has placed in your life. People have different spheres of influence. And I believe that God has not allowed anything to happen to you that you can't be a blessing to others from. That's it. This has been St. Mark Locker Room. You have come behind closed doors. I want to thank you for coming out. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for joining us online. I want to thank our media team up there, both downstairs and upstairs, for working with us, for those of you who pressed your way. This, for us, again, has been our Men's Month. We have a few moments that our men are going to be getting together, and so I want to invite you to be a part of those. We'll be, fellas, at a breakfast, and so that'll be coming up at 9 a.m. 9:30, thank you, 9:30 a.m. at Cracker Barrel on Portsmouth Boulevard on the Saturday before Father's Day, so that'll be this upcoming Saturday. And then together we're going to be traveling on June 30th to check out the Ties game, particularly during a game where they'll be celebrating the Negro League, and so we'd love for you to join us. And, of course, we are here on Sunday, and so if you're catching this before Father's Day, happy Father's Day. We'd love to have you come and worship with us. Bring friends, bring your family. Every Sunday here is a little different, and we get excited about how God chooses to move, and we would love to have you worship with us. Thank you again so much for joining us for the Locker Room. Have a good night.